a close approach. Have heard reports about it. She really gives a great visual. We'll check that out in a little bit, and we'll find out what other missions are being planned for other countries to protect this planet. Until then, let's join our commentators, Marie Lewis and Den Gibson, inside the Mission Director Center to take us through liftoff.
All right, thank you, Daryl. It is now at T-minus 8 minutes, 12 seconds and counting. There is a live look at Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base on the central coast of California. We can see white clouds billowing around the Falcon 9 rocket, standing 230 feet tall at the launch pad of California. We can see a white cloud, another 43 billowing around the Falcon 9 rocket, standing 230 feet tall at the launch pad inside of California. And venting going on, white cloud, normal venting billowing around on top of that side of the rocket, 230 feet tall at the launch pad inside of California. And venting going on, white cloud, normal venting billowing around on top of that side of the rocket, first 230 well and tall at the launch pad inside of California. And venting going on, white cloud, normal venting billowing around on top of that side of the rocket, first 230 well and tall at the launch pad inside of California. And venting going on, white cloud, normal venting billowing around on top of that side of the rocket, first 230 well and tall at the launch pad inside of California. And venting going on, white cloud, normal venting billowing.
Engines ready for engine start. It's going to reduce some of the thermal stress on the engines, and that's really what's happening there. And that should be coming up shortly here in a few minutes. And we just heard that call out for engine chill. It just started. And the next event that'll be coming up will be the stage 1 RP1 load complete. And that's basically they're just topping off the fuel tank on the first stage of the vehicle.
Shortly after that, the DART spacecraft will transition to internal power. That happens right around T-minus 5 minutes. And liftoff time tonight is at 10:21 and 2 seconds Pacific time.
And we're still progressing towards T0. The count is going well so far. Everything is progressing well. And at this stage in the game, coming up soon, the other thing you will start to hear discussion about the strongback. And basically what the strongback is that fixture you see on the side of the Falcon 9 there. That is basically supporting the Falcon 9 leading into launch. It provides the power, the electrical power, and the fluids going to the Falcon 9 while it's standing there on the pad. And we should be hearing.
Spacecraft is on internal power.
We just heard a call out for spacecraft on internal power.
It's good news, exactly what we want to hear. Our view a little bit obstructed right now by the venting off the side of the rocket. And that structure you see just to the right is the transporter erector. And that is the strongback. It's hard to see behind the venting, but there are a couple of arms kind of clamped around the top of the second stage of Falcon 9 that will be opening shortly as that strongback begins to recline just a couple of degrees in preparation for liftoff.
Yeah, and one of the call-outs you may have heard is the tanks are pressurizing for strongback retract, and that's really just they're pressurizing the tanks to make sure the vehicle is structurally sound so they can remove that support from the Falcon 9. And it may be a little bit difficult to see the retraction here because of the fog that's around the vehicle right now.
NLM, LD on countdown 1.
LD, this is NLM.
Looking to confirm you and your team are go for launch.
Yeah, NASA is go for launch.
All right, so we just heard that confirmation that the NASA team is go for launch. And we can see that strongback retract happening as we speak.
and basically that was the last confirmation from between the NASA team and the SpaceX team to say that we're good to go. And next,
go ahead.
And next milestone you hear coming up would be the stage 1 LOX load complete, and that's basically topping off the oxidizer tank on the stage 1. And that should be coming up here shortly.
And you can see a little bit better on your screen now that the
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
Yep, just heard that confirmation. So the stage 1 is completely topped off of fuel and oxidizer, so we're looking good on stage 1 right now. And shortly coming up, you'll hear them topping off the stage 2 tank.
There's a wider view now of the transporter erector. You can see that recline. And as we get into those final seconds before liftoff, we will see that recline even further, all the way to 45 degrees just before liftoff, clearing the way for DART to take flight.
Yeah, and as you see, the strong back is tilted back a little bit. You can see some cables that are still connected to the Falcon 9. Those are the umbilicals that are still providing power and fluids to the Falcon 9. And at liftoff, they will disconnect, and the strong back will move even further out of the way and to give it a nice clearance when it takes off.
We'll have a series of rapid events after liftoff that will guide you through with that progress bar. And Falcon 9 will have 2 burns for this mission.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
We just got that confirmation that stage 2 LOX load complete. At this point in time, all of the propellants have been loaded onto the launch vehicle, and everything's looking good.
And in the meantime, the SpaceX drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, is standing by in the Pacific Ocean, ready to receive the first stage booster that will be landing a little more than 9 minutes after liftoff on the drone ship. We don't expect to hear sonic booms here on land because it's coming down in the Pacific Ocean. So if you were here for Sentinel-6, you probably heard those a couple of sonic booms. That was because the booster was landing on land. Not the case this time.
Yeah, it would be awesome to hear it, though. It's
Falcon 9's in startup.
It's awesome to see. We just heard a call out that this Falcon 9 is in startup. That means it's going through its startup sequences. The flight computer is taken over, and it's going through its process.
Falcon 9, DART, go for launch.
We just heard that final call that Falcon 9 and DART are go for launch. T-minus 35 seconds and counting.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 20 seconds.
T-minus 15. 10.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of the Falcon 9 and DART on NASA's first planetary defense test to intentionally crash into an asteroid.
So we're getting a nice view of the onboard cameras from the Falcon 9. So you can see it looking towards the aft end of the first stage, and you can see those engines coming to life.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
And Falcon 9 will be reaching max Q in just seconds, the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
And here in the Mission Data Center, we can feel the rumble from the Falcon 9, and it's always amazing to hear and feel.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Everything looking good right now. It's really shaking the building where we are.
Vehicle supersonic.
Just heard that call out for supersonic. Going faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
And we've just passed max Q, that moment of peak mechanical stress on Falcon 9.
And everything's looking good. We're still getting some nice views of the onboard Falcon 9 camera. And we should be coming up on main engine shut off here in about a minute. So far, everything's looking good. All reports are nominal.
Invec chill has started.
We just heard the call off and back chill, so that's where it's getting ready to prepare second stage for engine ignition.
Now that main engine cutoff, or MECO, we expect at T plus 2 minutes 30 seconds, and then almost immediately after that, the first and second stage of Falcon 9 will separate, followed by the stage 2 first ignition, and then shortly thereafter, the jettison fairing at about T plus 3 minutes 8 seconds. So far, nominal liftoff.
And as if you notice, the plume or the flame coming from the engines have gotten bigger. That means it's high in the atmosphere, where the atmosphere isn't compressing the flames coming from the launch vehicle.
MECO.
Okay, we just heard that.
Separation confirmed.
Invec ignition.
So we just got confirmation of MECO, stage separation, and stage 2 ignition.
And so this is a view of the stage 1 Falcon 9 booster. You can see those hypersonic grid fins beginning to extend. The shot is a little bit dark, but you can see them extended out from the base
Bearing separation confirmed.
of the booster. And we just heard confirmation that the jettison fairing is complete. And those hypersonic grid fins help guide the Falcon 9 booster back down towards Earth. Again, it's heading towards the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship.
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
So we just heard everything's looking good for stage 2. You heard the positive confirmation of fairing jettison. And the Falcon 9 booster will be coming back. They'll be doing 2 burns. They'll be doing a boost back burn to get it closer to the Of Course I Still Love You, that's sitting about 400 miles south of where we are, off the coast of Baja, California. And then they'll do another burn for when it's coming in for a landing.
We're at T plus 4 minutes 6 seconds, and so far nominal ascent of the DART mission, NASA's first planetary defense test. Falcon 9 booster will begin its re-entry burn in a little over 3 minutes.
So far everything's looking great, and that's exactly what we wanted to hear. It was awesome to hear it and feel a launch while we're sitting here in the mission data center.
Yeah, that rumble never gets old.
Yeah.
And hard to believe in about 11 months from now that that DART spacecraft the size of a vending machine is going to
Mid-flight guidance.
crash head-on into Dimorphos at the speed of 15,000 miles per hour.
Yeah, and as we were talking about before, how fast is 15,000 miles an hour? I mean, it's like going from New York City to Los Angeles in less than a blink of an eye. So faster than you could blink, you travel across the country. So right now we're getting a good video that's looking at the interstage.
We're obviously having some technical issues with some of our video feeds.
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
Trying to get those feeds, get those kinks worked out so we can get those views back for you. But in the meantime, we will continue to talk you through everything that we're hearing. We can't see those views, but we are hearing that everything is nominal and on track.
Yeah, and as we and as you heard before, it may be difficult sometimes to get the video from the stage 1 landing. It's coming in very fast, and sometimes it's hard to get that video.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's okay. We can see, and we see a view there. It's just very dark out.
So look like we're getting some good video.
Stage 1, FTS is safe.
Stage 1, entry burn, startup.
All right. All right, so we got stage 1 coming in.
Now you've got a better look at those grid fins.
It's always amazing to see stage 1 coming back in for a landing.
Stage 1, entry burn, shutdown.
All right. So
Okay, we've got a beautiful shot of stage 2 now.
Stage 2, FTS is safe.
Terminal guidance.
And what we're looking at is the nozzle of stage 2, and you see it glowing hot.
Loss of signal code.
At this point in time, everything's looking nominal.
And what you're seeing is that MVAC engine on the Falcon 9 second stage glowing red hot, and we just heard that engine shut down.
So stage 2 just completed its first burn of the first of 2 burns. So the first burn of second stage is helping to circularize the orbit after the launch vehicle has gotten off of
Stage 1, landing burn.
the surface of the Earth. And then there's a second burn that'll be coming up. But right now, we are getting the landing burn from stage 1. It's coming in for his landing. Look like we're getting some good video.
Stage 1, landing leg deployed.
You can see this. You can see the drone ship. The landing legs are out. All right, so we're back. We're getting another view of stage 2 during its coast. And we just heard positive confirmation of stage 1 landing.
Yeah, it's tricky to maintain that feed from the drone ship at the moment of landing, but we do have confirmation that the first stage booster has landed safely and successfully on the, of course, I Still Love You, off the coast of Baja, California. And so now we are in the first coast phase of the Falcon 9 second stage, of course, still attached to the DART spacecraft. So it's going to be coasting for the next 20 minutes or so, give or take, and then a second burn will get started. So we're going to keep an ear on things. But for now, we want to learn a little bit more about DART's mission. And to kick us off, we want to hear from the director of a new Hollywood movie about a cataclysmic comet.
I heard there's an asteroid. Tell me about it.
Hi, I'm Adam McKay, director of Don't Look Up. Our movie is about 3 scientists who tried desperately to warn the planet of an impending doomsday comet and are ignored. Our movie's made up. It's a comedy. But in fact, the brilliant scientists at NASA are actually launching a mission. It's called DART, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. And what they're going to test is, can you send up a mission that can deflect an asteroid and steer it away from Earth if, God forbid, something like that were ever to happen. Remember to keep an eye out for it. It's going to be spectacular.
Thanks to Adam McKay of the soon-to-be-released science fiction comedy Don't Look Up. Folks, we are back inside the NASA hangar, and though the movie is not real, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, is real, and we are ready to show you every aspect of this mission with the experts who know. So welcome back, everyone. I'm Daryl Nail, and with me is Kelly Fast, program scientist with the Planetary Defense Coordination Office. We hope you really enjoyed watching the launch. I know Kelly did, because as it was going up, you were going, go, go, pumping your fists.
That was so exciting to hear the rumble of the rocket noise come through the hangar here, but then just, again, being so excited for the team that has worked so hard on this. I know they are partying it up wherever they're watching from, and so I'm so excited for them.
Yes, especially that launch viewing location out there. I heard that it was a fantastic view, and that was pretty neat to see at least the first part of the landing where it was coming down, illuminated the ship. But even more so to see that DART spacecraft and the fairing come out. There it is, going to space.
Oh, I know we're not out of the woods yet. We still got to get that all the way out to Dimorphos, but this is a huge step along the way.
Absolutely. That is very important, because there is a lot more work to do to get this. And of course, we're going to be tracking all of that. You know, going back to that movie trailer, you know, Hollywood's always had fun with asteroids and, you know, ending the Earth with one of them. But the movie's called Don't Look Up, but really, you're kind of evidence that we're looking up more now than ever.
I like that Adam McKay kind of put it into context, that it's fiction, it's a comedy, but you know, in the real world, there's a lot of work going on with a lot of scientists looking for near-Earth asteroids, getting them cataloged. There's an international asteroid warning network. There's astronomers around the world doing this, and it's a big focus at NASA. And so it's the only natural disaster that we could prevent, an asteroid impact. And so why not use your capabilities to look, you know, to the extent that you can, rack those up, and then do something like DART, so that you've got a tool in the toolbox there.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to talk about. You know, there are other ways, I've heard, that we could do this. This is one we're testing. We'll talk to Lori Glaze about that. And then we'll also have your close approach demonstration, which we're really looking forward to. So that's coming up in just a bit. So in the next hour, we are going to tell you everything you ever wanted to know about asteroids and break down the DART mission from A to Z. And we're going to start with an overview of this mission.
In case there was an asteroid coming towards Earth and you're there, you can actually stop it. I mean, that's kind of fantastic.
NASA is crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid.
What? You think science fiction, but this is real. Never in my life would I have thought I would take a couple $100 million spacecraft and crash it into an asteroid. My name is Michelle Chen.
I'm Lena Adams.
My name is Kelly Fast.
I'm Andy Rifkin.
I'm Justina Surovitz, and I help tell the story of the DART mission.
I'm a planetary defender.
And I study how the orbits of asteroids change after we hit them with spacecraft.
My job was primarily to make sure that all the systems on the spacecraft work together.
The DART mission is NASA's first test of a planetary defense technique called kinetic impactor.
DART is the double asteroid redirection test.
It's just a spacecraft that is going to go and smack an asteroid.
The moonlet Dimorphos, which orbits the asteroid Didymos.
And see if we can change its trajectory just a little bit.
In order to show that we can deflect incoming asteroids if we need to.
DART will only be changing the period of the orbit of Dimorphos by a tiny amount.
But in space, just a little bit is just enough to make an asteroid actually miss us.
In the event that an asteroid is discovered well ahead of time before it might impact Earth.
Behind me, you see the spacecraft.
It's really cool to see it coming together in real life.
It is fantastic to see it in real life.
To see it turn from ideas into real pieces that are going to go into space.
The solar arrays will actually roll out to 28 feet in length.
Once the solar arrays are deployed, it's going to be the size of a school bus. As the solar array opens out, it's going to swing out in this direction. The asteroid's only 2 football fields in size.
We're flying at over 6 kilometers a second.
30 days out, we see 1 pixel on our field of view.
You can see Didymos and Dimorphos as 1 point of light.
About 4 hours out, our spacecraft becomes autonomous.
And then that's where everything gets really exciting.
You actually are seeing impact.
We're super excited and nervous as well.
I feel really honored and humbled to be working in an area of science that has such a broader impact, you know, figuratively and literally.
So dark. The dinosaurs are made completely extinct by an asteroid impact so many years ago. Here we are, we can actually do something about it. I think this is just wonderful.
And as was mentioned in there, this is the first planetary defense mission. And this is your office we're talking about, Kelly. So For the audience out there that doesn't understand or hasn't heard of this before, what is the Planetary Defense Coordination Office? What do you do?
Well, right. Well, NASA's actually been working on near-Earth asteroid research since 1998, so this has been going on a long time. But in 2016, it was really formalized more in the creation of this Planetary Defense Coordination Office, which is in the Planetary Science Division at NASA headquarters. And it takes that legacy near-Earth object observations program, all the, the finding them part of the program, and then combines that with these other activities like DART, like the development of the Near-Earth Object Surveyor Space Telescope, like our interagency collaborations like we saw with FEMA there, our international collaborations, and formalizing all of that and leading the Planetary Defense Coordination Office. Lindley Johnson, we say he's got the coolest title in the solar system as NASA's Planetary Defense Officer.
All right, and he sure does. I enjoy listening to him in that interview earlier. Now, throughout the show, we will be taking the most popular questions NASA gets about asteroids and posing them to experts like Kelly. This next question is for NASA expert Marina Brozovic. When was the last time an asteroid hit Earth?
Well, the answer depends on whether you're asking about small or large impacts, because Earth gets hit all the time. But luckily for us, the vast majority of these impactors are small, and they just burn in the atmosphere. The most significant fireball event in over 100 years occurred over Russia in 2013. We actually got hit by an asteroid that was the size of a small building, and that one disintegrated about 20 kilometers above the city of Chelyabinsk. And it deposited a fair number of meteorites on the ground. And I happen to have a piece of that Chelyabinsk impactor right here in my hand. But what about big impacts? The ones that leave craters tens of kilometers wide and cause huge amount of devastation. We have to go far back in time for such an event. And those old craters are not easy to spot, because by now they're heavily eroded, they're filled with sediment, or they can be at the bottom of the ocean. But to keep the long story short, small impacts, they happen all the time, especially given that about 15,000 tons of space dust hit Earth every year. And large impacts are rare, and we're talking millions of years rare. So when was the last time an asteroid hit Earth? Probably today, but the odds are it was very small and just burned in the atmosphere.
The binary asteroid system DART is taking aim at was chosen for many reasons. Let's join Raquel Villanueva with a special guest to explain that. But first, Raquel, you saw the launch in person live. What was that like?
Ooh, it was chilly with lots of excitement and lots of cheers, lots of fun. And I am here with DART program scientist Tom Statler to talk about the double asteroid mission. Like, what did you think of launch, Tom?
Oh, Raquel, it was a beautiful, beautiful launch and tremendously exciting.
Now, can you tell me why the asteroid was chosen?
Oh, well, a binary asteroid system, and the Didymos binary asteroid system, is the perfect natural laboratory for the double asteroid redirection test. For one thing, the larger asteroid makes sure that the smaller asteroid is held in orbit around it, so there's absolutely nothing that we can do that would make this asteroid a danger to the Earth. But more important, it's about the measurement. We need to be able to measure how efficiently DART deflects the asteroid, and we're using that binary orbit of the little asteroid around the big one to do that. We're going to change the period of that orbit by just a few minutes, and we're going to be able to measure the size of that change using telescopes on Earth in the weeks and months after impact and precisely determine exactly what it was we did.
Now, DART is called a kinetic impactor, which is intended to change the orbit of an asteroid. So what kind of mass and speed is needed to alter the orbit of this particular asteroid?
Well, the DART spacecraft weighs about 500 kilograms, which Andy Rivkin, one of the investigation team leads, said the other day is about the mass of a small cow, which is, I guess, true. And it's going to be impacting the asteroid at a speed of about 15,000 miles an hour. So at that speed, it covers the last 4 miles to impact in 1 second. Now, that's going to deliver enough of a push to the asteroid to change its motion by a fraction of a millimeter per second. But it is more than just the push of the spacecraft. It's also the energy released in that tremendous collision at 15,000 miles an hour.
Now we can envision the small cow. Now, really quickly, how do you measure success for this mission?
Well, success is, of course, first, we want to execute the kinetic impact and strike the asteroid. But success is really being able to see the magnitude of that change. And at the end, when the observations are done a few months after impact, having that measurement and knowing exactly how efficiently we deflected the asteroid, and then later with additional data being able to put that in context and knowing what we might have to do for a similar asteroid or a different asteroid in the future if we ever do need to deflect one.
Tom, thank you so much for answering our questions today.
My pleasure, Raquel.
I'll send it back to Daryl.
Thank you, Raquel and Tom. And so now I have a clear picture of the size. Vending machine, golf cart, and cow. That's great. Crystal clear now. Well, from time to time, you'll hear a report about an asteroid making a close approach to Earth. As my co-host Kelly Fast shows us, a simple demonstration with a basketball, an orange, and a tiny pebble can help us get a better understanding of what's a really close approach and what's not.
Well, and here we are.
Here we are, big open field.
You know, we're just talking about how sometimes you hear about asteroids that pass close to the Earth, and maybe the news will say, oh, there's an asteroid passing 10 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon. And
I think, whoa, man, that's close.
Well, yeah, it sure sounds like it, but what does that mean? And you found this basketball that looks like the Earth, and so we can do a scale model here. So if the Earth was that size, the Moon would be the size like of this orange. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it out to where the Moon would be if it were this size.
Oh, okay.
So here we go, probably about 25 feet, which I paced out earlier. So here we go. And so if the Earth were the size of a basketball, then the Moon would be out here. And so if an asteroid were passing like at 10 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon, it would be 10 times out that way.
Right, even probably past the building.
But on a cosmic scale, not that far. We still want to keep an eye on asteroids that could come this close. But as asteroids pass closer to the Earth, again, they're not impacting. As we get to maybe this distance, this is about like the distance of the weather satellites. That's really starting to get close. We don't want to get buzzed that close.
What do you have to show for the asteroid?
Well, if you had this type of a scale, an asteroid might be about, in fact, this is too big. This pebble is even too big to represent even the asteroid that took out the dinosaurs.
Really?
Yeah, it would probably be smaller than a grain of salt,
wow.
But we wouldn't be able to see it very well here.
So is this a close approach?
Yeah, we would call that a close approach, but it's not an impact, and so we're good. And this seems very small relative to the Earth. But it's the speed when they're going very fast. Like, if you've ever been at the beach, you get sandblasted when it's windy. Mm-hmm. It's the speed that added with that mass.
Can hurt.
Yeah. And so, and that's why you get craters on surfaces when they impact. Our atmosphere does a good job of protecting us, disrupting asteroids on the way in. But if they're large enough, then they can reach the surface and do even more damage. And so that's why you want to find them early. Then you could do something like the DART mission, where you could deflect that asteroid just a small amount, and then it would miss the Earth as you spun the solar system into the future.
Right. Well, can you take this little asteroid and go out there past the Moon?
Sure.
Because that just makes us feel better. Now it's way out.
Keeping where it should be out here.
I enjoyed that. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. I can't believe you found a basketball that looked like the Earth. That was perfect.
Specifically for this demonstration. Great job, Kelly. Most scientific spacecraft have lots of instruments on board, but for DART, there's only one. It's the camera on the front, and it's called DIRECTO, or Didymos Reconnaissance and Asteroid Camera for Operational Navigation. For more about how this camera will help steer DART into the asteroid, let's go out to APL and Samson Rainey.
Hey Daryl, joining me right now is Tarek Daly, who is DIRECTO's Deputy Instrument Scientist. First, Tarek, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that fantastic launch. It never gets old to watch a NASA launch, does it?
It's a stunning experience. Absolutely beautiful, Samson.
Congratulations on that first major step of the mission.
To the whole team.
All right, so I'm going to take us out, way out, to about a month before impact, say. And Draco is, first detecting that first speck of light that is in the blackness of space, and it's our target binary asteroid system, right? Can you tell us what is going to happen with Draco at that moment up until impact? What is it going to do?
So Draco is the eyes of the spacecraft. The images Draco takes provide the data needed to guide the spacecraft to hit the asteroid. So beginning about 30 days out, we'll take images every few hours that get processed on the ground for optical navigation. We'll also measure how the brightness of the asteroid changes over a period of several hours, because that will tell us more about the relative sizes and shapes of the bodies. Things get really interesting about 4 hours before impact. That's when this spacecraft transitions to autonomous navigation. At this point, something called SmartNav takes over, which was developed here at Johns Hopkins APL, and the spacecraft now drives itself to the asteroid. The asteroid system at this point is less than a pixel across. It's actually not until an hour before impact that the camera can actually see the secondary asteroid, the moon, separately from the primary asteroid. And it's not even until just 20 seconds before impact that you can see things on the surface the size of the spacecraft. And all this navigation is happening using algorithms on board the spacecraft.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, we are looking forward to those pics when they come next year. So good luck on that, Tarek.
Thank you so much, Samson.
Tossing it back to you, Daryl.
All right, thank you, Samson and Tarek. The DART spacecraft is still flying through space, and we have an important flight operation happening in just a few minutes. So let's check in with Marie and Denton for the latest on that.
All right, thank you, Daryl and Kelly. We are getting ready for the second burn of the second stage of Falcon 9.
Yeah, and basically what this was happening here is after the coast, the engine going to fire up, and it's going to be a shorter burn, and this is basically going to give us the velocity to get out of Earth orbit and heading towards the Didymos system.
And so we expect that second burn to begin at T plus 28 minutes, 31 seconds. So we have a view there now of that is the Merlin MVAC engine on the Falcon 9 second stage. And that second ignition coming up in just a few seconds.
Yeah, and as we approach the ground station, we're getting better telemetry and video from the vehicle. And from there, you can kind of see the trajectory of where we are heading towards right now. Right now, we're near the southern tip of South America.
MVAC ignition.
And we just got confirmation of MVAC ignition. And you can see the video there. You can see the engine coming to life.
And so we are, right now, DART is near the southern tip of Chile, near the capital city of the area's southernmost region. And so this next burn lasts just under a minute, and then we expect to hear second cutoff at T plus 29 minutes, 27 seconds. So in just a few seconds now. You can see that MVAC engine glowing red hot during this second burn.
Everything's looking good.
MVAC shutdown.
And we just got confirmation of engine shutdown.
All right, so that was a pretty quick burn.
Yeah. Yeah, and all that, and that was just a short burn needed to give it that velocity so it can head towards the Didymos system.
Okay, so now we are in a coast phase again.
Nominal escape burn.
Okay, so confirmation, everything nominal. There is a view of the "Of Course I Still Love You" drone ship with the booster safely landed there. That is the third landing of this booster, so congratulations to SpaceX on yet another one. In the meantime, DART is in a coast phase with the second stage for about another 26 minutes or so. And during this coast phase, the spacecraft will fly over the South Pole. And by the time of spacecraft separation at roughly T plus 55, 56 minutes, DART will be near the southern tip of Madagascar. So we'll be continuing to keep an ear on things. So far, this has been a beautiful start to DART's journey. It's got 11 months roughly to make it to the Didymos system, where it will impact Dimorphos in late September or early October of 2022. For now, Daryl and Kelly. Actually, no, we are going to go over to NASA's Megan Cruz. She spoke to the Launch Services Program flight design expert about what it takes to design a trajectory as complex and as unique as this one in order to get DART to its very precise destination to impact that asteroid. So let's go over now to Megan Cruz.
Bill, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you're a flight design expert with NASA's Launch Services Program, and you lead the team who designed DART's flight path. Can you tell me about that flight path, and was it difficult to plot out?
Unlike a lot of missions where you have a single trajectory that's going to get you to some point in Earth orbit, we're designing a new set of targets for the launch vehicle to hit on every single day, up to 90 targets in this case. So a fair bit of trajectory analysis, a lot of computer time, and a lot of work by the combined team, both here at NASA LSP and our spacecraft partners at JPL and APL, and of course, SpaceX.
Mm-hmm. Why the instantaneous window and not the longer window we typically see for scientific missions?
When we talk about launch opportunity, that is actually like the number of days that we can launch. And when we talk about launch window, that is the amount of time on a particular day that we can launch. So given the fact that we had 90 days to potentially launch this mission, and the fact that SpaceX has a pretty good history of launching on the first or second day in the opportunity, we decided that it was more efficient and a better use of the limited resources that we all have to do these kinds of missions, to focus on having the best launch trajectory for each day. And if for whatever reason we weren't able to launch that day, we've got another day right behind it.
And why did you guys ultimately decide to launch from the central coast of California and not here in Florida?
Great question. Typically, for a lot of our interplanetary missions, the most important thing is to get as much energy out of the launch vehicle, and that's no different for DART. However, usually the best way to do that is to launch as close to the equator and on an easterly trajectory. So Kennedy Space Center or Cape Canaveral Space Force Station are the ideal locations for that. As it turns out, though, this particular outbound trajectory requires that outbound ground track to be more in a north-south direction. And so we're going to launch from the west coast of California and fly out on basically a southerly trajectory. And that is a much better way to launch to avoid overflights of populated land masses.
Yeah, absolutely. And where will you be and what will you be doing during the launch?
So I'll actually be here at Kennedy Space Center. Typically, pre-COVID, in my role, I would be traveling out to the West Coast. I'll be monitoring the progress of the vehicle during ascent and making regular updates to the NASA chief engineer, and right up to spacecraft separation, and then I'll be looking at the data from the rocket and making a determination of how well we did. And I'm very confident that we're going to hit that orbit very accurately.
Bill, it sounds like you'll be very busy during launch. I hope you find some time to enjoy what you guys have worked so hard to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Megan and Bill. Planetary defense takes planetary participation. Here's a message now from Administrator Bill Nelson about NASA's leadership in this global effort.
At NASA, we are always looking upward, keeping an eye on the sky for potential hazards and exploring asteroids to help us unlock the secrets of the formation of not only our solar system, but the universe. Well, we have a new mission, NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test. It's known as DART. And it's going to help us learn if, by intentionally crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid, to see if there's any slight change in its trajectory. And this collision will change the asteroid ever so slightly, so that if you got it way, way away from Earth, if it was inbound to Earth, you could change that trajectory and it would escape Earth. And what DART's going to do, it's going to ram this asteroid, that is an asteroid revolving around another asteroid. It's going to ram it at 15,000 miles an hour and see if we can change that trajectory just a little bit. And DART is not only going to help NASA, but indeed the world prepare in the event that an Earth-threatening asteroid were to be discovered and we thought it was coming to Earth. So this is important. Go DART.
Thank you, Administrator Nelson. Joining us now is the director of NASA's Science Mission Directorate's Planetary Science Division. Let's welcome Lori Glaze to the NASA hangar, who just came from the Mission Control Center, watched the whole launch. You get to see all the cameras and the computers and everything. So first of all, I want to ask you, how was that?
It was really incredible, I have to say. Sitting there in the room with the headphones on, and you can listen to the spacecraft team as they go through all of their checks and making sure that they've got everything ready to go, and all the go for fuel, and then watching the monitors. You can see the fuel tanks filling up on both of the main booster and on the second stage, and then the final poll when you get, the spacecraft teams go for launch, and then you hear the launch team say, "Is NASA ready for launch?" And NASA launch manager says, "NASA is go for launch." And then I'm going to admit that I snuck outside and watched.
You got to go out.
And it was amazing.
Clear sky. You could see it the whole way.
Clear sky, lit up behind the hill there. Gorgeous.
Oh, it's so fabulous. This is so fun, Lori, because you're my boss and I get to ask you questions. Well, and as part of your division, Planetary Defense Coordination Office is in there, and you've got the DART mission. What other missions are under the Planetary Defense portfolio?
So, great question. In addition to the DART mission, which we now have just launched, we actually also have a mission. I know you've been talking about the importance of detecting and characterizing asteroids. We have a mission that's called the NEO-WISE mission, or the Near Earth Object WISE mission, which is a repurposing of the old WISE mission that we actually use to do some detection of asteroids, but also a lot of characterization so that we know what the asteroids look like, what they're made of, and what their orbits are. And then we have a new mission that we've just started developing that we're hoping to launch in the next few years. That's called the Near Earth Object Surveyor mission, or NEO Surveyor. And that mission is going to be really dedicated to looking for those near-Earth objects. That'll be its sole purpose. We're going to send it out to a stable orbit called the Lagrangian point, L1. Should be an amazing mission.
We'll have the eyes in space besides just the telescope, which is pretty neat.
Exactly.
I got to wondering, with this kinetic impactor, we're testing that. We'll find out about that in about 10 months. But do we have any other ways that we're looking at to move an asteroid off course?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are multiple ideas that have been thought about in different techniques that have been developed and studied. The kinetic impactor is the most mature. That's why we're testing it first. But other cool ideas that are out there are things called like a gravity tractor, which would essentially adjust the mass of the object by either adding or subtracting, and then you have changing the gravitational pull. Another idea which is out there is to potentially detonate a nuclear device, not on the, you don't want to blow up the asteroid.
Oh, well, it sounds like Armageddon.
No,
not quite.
No, you don't want to do that. You want to detonate it near the asteroid to just give it a push.
How about that? Fascinating. All technologies you're working on. Lori Glaze, Director of NASA Science Mission Directorate's Planetary Science Division, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
All right, so with that, it's time to ask the expert scientists at NASA another question about the asteroids. And this one, folks, this one's for NASA asteroid expert Davide Farnocchia. We're going to ask him the question, is NASA aware of any Earth-threatening asteroids?
No, there is no asteroid that we know of that is concerning in terms of impact hazard. Now, we know that asteroid impacts have happened in the past and can certainly happen in the future. But we should keep in mind that those are rare events. An asteroid impact that could cause serious regional damage only happens every few thousand years or longer. Still, it's a good idea to protect us against that possibility, and the rule of the game is find asteroids before they find us. And that's why, for over 20 years, NASA has been funding search programs to observe the sky pretty much every single night to find and track asteroids. And we've been doing a pretty good job at that. So far, we've discovered more than 1 million asteroids, including 95% of the asteroids that are greater than 1 kilometer and that could come close to the Earth. Once we discover an asteroid, we project its motion into the future to assess the possibility of an impact with Earth. We have a scale called Torino scale that helps us rank the risk coming from each asteroid. It goes from 0, which is lowest risk, to 10, which is highest risk. And the good news is that for all the asteroids that we've discovered so far, the Torino scale is 0, so lowest risk for the next 100 years. So, is NASA aware of any Earth-threatening asteroids? No, but we will keep searching the skies just in case.
And that's good news. We now heard about the instrument on board a little further back, the DRACO camera. Now let's discuss the computer that will use DRACO's camera and the images from it to autonomously fly DART into its target. Samson Rainey is back now with us from the Mission Operations Center in Maryland with a special guest to tell us more. Samson?
Hey, Daryl. Joining me right now is SmartNav lead Michelle Chen. Michelle, give us some insights into what you call the brains of the spacecraft. How will SmartNav allow DART to identify its target and stay on that target for the whole 4 hours before impact?
Right. So at 4 hours is when SmartNav starts controlling the spacecraft. And if you imagine that you're the spacecraft and you're looking at the Didymos system, you're going to see the Didymos system and Didymos itself. And at about an hour to go is when the little guy, Dimorphos, starts eclipsing and coming out from eclipse. And it is at that point that we start guiding towards Dimorphos.
Great. So why did you choose this method for the mission as opposed to other alternatives?
So this method, we kind of need it because everyone's been talking about the 15,000 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. So that's 250 miles in 1 minute. Wow. And for us to joystick that from the ground with the 1 minute round trip light delay for communications, it would be impossible. So we needed something autonomous on board.
That's incredible. So how are you feeling right now, and how are you going to feel, when we approach those 4 hours before impact?
Right. Yeah, so APL has a lot of experience on maturing guiding technology, and SmartNav is an IRAD that we started 8 years ago. And it's kind of like a child, right? So we've spent the past 8 years training and teaching this child to basically drive the spacecraft on its own. And like a parent would say, we're going to be sitting in the passenger seat, watching our child drive, and we're going to be really excited and nervous as all heck.
Well, we are rooting for your kid to do really well when the time comes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Back to you, Daryl.
All right, thank you both. And we have a fun way now, a little separation from the serious science, for you to participate in our mission today, and it's by signing up to be a planetary defender, just like Kelly. Here's a look at some of the people who sent us videos on how they got involved.
I'm a planetary defender. I love space, and my dog is also a planetary defender.
I am planetary defender. Go dog!
I'm a planetary defender. Asam planetari защитник.
Jo soc defensor planetari.
Cosmo e io siamo difensori planetari. Cosmo and I are planetary defenders.
We're planetary defenders! I'm a planetary defender. Yeah!
Love the kid with the rocket engines.
That was great.
Yeah. If you would like to participate in being a planetary defender, there's a website. We're going to put it up on the screen. It's at dart.jhuapl.edu/planetary-defender. Defender. Again, that's dart.jhupapl.edu/planetary-defender. And there's a 5-question quiz, and then if you do well, you'll receive a digital certificate so you can share it on social media or, hang it on your wall. So guess what? Daryl and Kelly took the quiz.
We did.
And we have our certificate. Look at that. Oh, yeah. I am officially declared a planetary defender on NASA's double asteroid redirection test.
I am proud of you, Daryl.
Thank you, Kelly. That means a lot. So, you took the quiz, right? And you passed. I'm glad to hear it.
That was kind of funny because I started working my way through the quiz, and I knew what the answer to the question was, but I wanted to make sure that I knew what they thought the answer to the question was, so I clicked on a hint, and a video of me popped up. So, and by the way, our planetary defense officer, Lindley Johnson, he also took it and he passed.
That is great to hear. That is great to hear. I feel like I needed a hint. Oh, there's me. Telling me what's up. All right. Thank you so much. Well, we have DART is scheduled to make an impact with its target asteroid in the fall of 2022. After that happens, scientists and astronomers around the world will work to verify if the redirection tests work. Let's go back out to Raquel Villanueva for more on this. Raquel?
Thanks, Daryl. I'm here with DART Coordination Lead Nancy Chabot to find out what is next. Thanks for joining us, Nancy.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great launch, huh?
It's beautiful. So what is the first thing your team will do after impact?
We will be doing so much. First thing will be the DIRECTO images that are streaming back 1 per second. And this is the first time we get to see what this asteroid looks like. And so I guarantee the team at APL is going to have these images up on the big screen, seeing what the shape is, seeing what the geology is, seeing where we actually hit. But then there's more. There's Lucia Cube, and those images are actually going to take a few days or weeks to come back, and they're going to show us the ejecta from the collision. And the telescopes are going to get right to work too here on the Earth. They're going to be turning their gaze and trying to figure out how much we actually deflected this asteroid. And that's going to go on for months. And then we've got a bunch of people with state-of-the-art models who are going to model the impact, model the ejecta, model the dynamics, and they're going to use the inputs from the images and the observations and all come together. It's going to be a really, really busy time.
Sounds like it. And can you tell me why the impact, the timing of the impact is important?
Yeah, it's really interesting because September 2022 is the perfect time to do this. So Didymos and the Earth, they both go around the sun, right? But it actually takes about a little over 2 years for Didymos. So sometimes the Earth and Didymos are on like the opposite sides of the sun and really far away from each other. But in September 2022, it's actually minimized. They're going to be the closest that they are for 40 years. And that's going to let the telescopes here on the Earth get the best data possible of how much we deflected this asteroid.
Wow. And scientists around the world, will they be able to confirm your results?
Yeah, I'm actually super happy we've got scientists around the world on the DART team. And so this is an international team for an international issue, right? Like planetary defense is our whole planet. We're all on it together. And that's there. We've got obviously the Lucia Cube contributed by the Italian Space Agency. We're also really working closely with the European Space Agency's Hera mission, which is going to rendezvous with the Didymos system in 2026. And it's going to be able to see the crater, get the mass. And it's really exciting because, DART is just the start, and then Hera will get there, and these two missions combined will show us even more than anyone could do on their own. And it's just really a great example of international collaboration for this international issue.
It really is. And what was it like seeing the launch today?
It was really spectacular. I didn't really know what to expect so much, but then when you just saw it like light up through the sky and sort of change the things, and everybody erupts in the cheers, it's really real, but in some ways this is just getting DART onto this next phase. I'm looking forward to these 10 months and then the collision and then everything I just described starts, and we've got so much to look forward to.
Busy time ahead. Thank you so much for joining us, Nancy.
Thank you. This is great.
Back to you, Daryl.
All right, and as she mentioned, when DART impacts the asteroid, the spacecraft and the onboard camera will be completely destroyed. But we will see DART's last maneuver thanks to an Italian CubeSat that will jettison from DART 10 days before impact. For more on this, we are joined by Simone Parata of the Italian Space Agency. And we're going to talk about Lice Cube, which stands for Light Italian CubeSat for Imaging Asteroids. So how did this idea for a DART CubeSat actually come about?
Thank you. So the idea of CubeSat came about in the time frame of 2017. At the time, the Italian Space Agency was already running a project that is called Argo Moon, and it's a similar CubeSat that will fly on the Artemis 1 mission. So this CubeSat will provide important information and images of the launcher. So we thought, why don't we propose a similar CubeSat that will support the DART mission? Anyway, we were somehow, contacted by NASA, and then the idea came in this way, and we started this new challenging project. And we are very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's like DART throwing out a cell phone to take a selfie right before it rams into an asteroid.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's okay. We still kind of sometimes refer to it as a selfie sat, but or seriously, what can you tell us more about Lucia Cube's scientific objectives?
All right. We will support DART. We are kind of witness of the immediate effect of the impact, because later on, the effect of the impact, yes, will be measured from the Earth by telescopes, but we will provide unique images. Yeah, this is Lucia Cube. It's has been just deployed from DART. So while DART is targeting and then impacting the asteroids, we will maneuver in a way that will allow us to pass in a safe distance, so not to be impacted by ejectors, but at the proper distance to have a good resolution of our images.
That is super cool.
Yeah, so the plumes is important information, and we will also provide information on the other side of the asteroid that is not visible by DART, that is coming from just one direction. So can I use a small model that is...
Sure. What do you have?
I have with me just a small toy that my daughter did. With the Lego bricks.
Like Legos.
Yes, they are Legos. But in particular, they are the Legos that I received when I was a kid. They were stored for 30 years, and now my daughter, she's using.
So 30-year-old Legos repurposed on the show today.
You can see from the color. Yeah. They're not properly white. Anyway, while Lucia Cube is approaching the scene, it's maneuvering, and the velocity is an issue because DART is intentionally very fast against the asteroid. Mm-hmm. And we have limited resources on board as a CubeSat, so we cannot modify our velocity so much. So we'll be very fast while we are approaching the scene.
Okay.
And we will try to be out of the plane, have a good illumination of the scene, and then we will look at the plume that will be generated, and we will maneuver, change the attitude in order to image the other side of the asteroid.
That's fantastic. Not just getting the impact, but the other side. Yeah. And we showed that with Legos. It's my favorite part.
Well, and this is great with the Legos. Using that, can you tell us what are the main components of Lucia Cube and how do they work?
Sure. Lucia Cube is a 6U CubeSat in size, and it's a complete spacecraft. I can say it's equipped with all subsystems. The core is made by the two instruments, the two cameras. One is with a narrow field of view, and the other has a wider field of view. So they have complementary functions in the action.
And real quickly, how close will Lucia Cube come to the asteroid?
Well, we had a trade-off on this decision, and in the end, the proper distance at the closest approach will be around 55 kilometers. That is again a safe distance, but is good enough to have a resolution on the surface of about 1 meter per pixel. That will allow us to have good information on also on the morphology of the surface, maybe the crater. The crater is not completely sure that we can image because the plume can cover it. And we need the proper time to allow the plume to be developed enough. So while we are having our flyby, we can have a complete modeling of how the materials will be released.
That's fantastic. Simone Parada from the Italian Space Agency. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for bringing your Legos. Yeah. That was great.
It is like a kind of lucky charm for us. And my daughter wants this back, so I'll take it back to Italy.
All right, let's check in with Maria and Denton to find out more about spacecraft separation, guys.
All right, thanks, Daryl and Kelly. It was a very interesting conversation. We are about 45 seconds or so from spacecraft separation when the Falcon 9 second stage and DART will be over the Indian Ocean near Madagascar. And then the job of the Falcon 9 rocket will be officially complete for this mission.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, The job of Falcon 9 was to get DART on its way to the Didymos system. At this point, we've gotten enough velocity, enough speed to send DART off towards the Didymos system. And right now, we're in range of the ground station, so we can get all the data from, and so we can make sure we can actually capture the separation
confirmed.
And we just heard the call out for spacecraft separation. You can see the video of the DART spacecraft on its way, heading on its way to the Didymos system.
What a spectacular view of DART.
Yep.
Just floating away from the Falcon 9 second stage.
And you can see the sun off to the side there as DART drifts away from the Falcon 9 second stage.
And so this officially begins almost a year of cruise for the DART spacecraft, flying through on its way to the Didymos system. And at the time that it impacts Dimorphos in late September 2022 is what we expect, the Didymos system will be within 11 million kilometers of Earth. Again, to remind folks, this system does not pose any kind of threat to Earth. This is purely a test. And so DART, when it approaches, will smash into Dimorphos, the small moonlet of Didymos, at 15,000 miles per hour. Just astonishing rate of speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the next thing that we have to get through, obviously, spacecraft separation is a huge milestone, but we're not out of the woods yet. We still have to get acquisition of signal from the DART spacecraft, and that takes a little bit more time, right, Dutton?
Yeah, and at this point, the launch vehicle has done its job, and we just want to make sure we basically hear from the DART spacecraft to make sure it's doing well. And if you think about it, it's kind of like getting off of a roller coaster, right? You know, you step off the roller coaster, you know, you kind of steady yourself. You want to check your pockets, make sure you didn't lose anything along the way, make sure you're okay. And that's basically what we're looking for from the DART spacecraft once it gets that acquisition of signal, because it's going to kind of go through its self-checks, make sure everything's okay, and then it's going to send word back to home, basically saying, hey, I'm doing all right. And that's what we're looking for right now. And that's, I mean, because if we don't get that, then it's kind of all for nothing, right? You want to make sure that the spacecraft is doing well after it's gone, separated away from the launch vehicle.
And you've got ground stations all over the planet that are looking for this signal from DART, and we'll be trying to start picking that up very soon.
Right, and then sometimes it's not an exact, it's not exact, because sometimes the timing may vary once you get in range of certain ground stations. You know, there could be weather kind of impacting that signal strength, etc. So there are various factors that come into play. So, but we're expecting to get it coming up in a few minutes, but hopefully we'll get that so we can get good word that DART is doing well.
Okay, and so there's a range that we're expecting. Acquisition of signal could be as early as around T plus an hour and 7 minutes, so that's 9 or so minutes from now. It could be as late as T plus 1 hour 34 minutes. Like you said, it's not an exact science. We'll know when it happens. We'll give confirmation as soon as we hear it. But for now, we're going to keep an ear on things. And Daryl and Kelly, we will send it back to you.
All right, Maria and Denton, thank you so much. What beautiful imagery seeing that DART spacecraft sailing off. Well, DART will be destroyed after it smashes into its target asteroid. But years from now, a new spacecraft will follow DART's path to the same double asteroid. Joining us now is Ian Carnelli, the European Space Agency's project manager for Hera. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, tell me a little bit about what Hera does and how it got its name.
All right, so Hera will be launched in October 2024. So a few years out. It's currently now in integration. And we'll launch it from Kourou and arrive at Didymos in 2026, around Christmas Day. And our primary purpose is really to complete the investigation, to understand what has happened during and after the DART impact, so understand the dynamics, the geology, what the asteroid is made of. And the name is quite funny. Actually, we had an evening with the scientists, and we were thinking about names, and I only had a constraint from my boss saying we don't want acronyms for once. So idea...
Yeah, and so it was a perfect choice, but it's because there are two aspects of this, right? What is this?
Exactly. So these are the CubeSats. So here we'll bring with it two CubeSats, one called Melania, after actually the scientist who brought up the name of the mission and the concept, and Juventus. So the two CubeSats will perform scientific investigations. Here we're seeing the booms deploying from Juventus. That's actually a low-frequency radar. What it does is actually like a X-ray. We'll want to understand what is the internal structure of the asteroid, understand if there are voids or if it's a monolithic rock.
How about that?
Yeah, so imagine...
Literally going into the crater that DART created?
Exactly, that's the purpose. And so Hera comes after the goddess, the Greek goddess of marriage. And the idea being that despite being hit by DART, the two asteroids will stay together. So that was kind of the history behind the name.
I love it.
Well, yeah, we just got DART off the planet. And so why is it important now to, a few years later, for Hera to go and then follow up?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so excited about DART. It was an awesome launch. And we're all expecting beautiful science data to come next year. But then the purpose of Hera is really to complete the experiment, to get close and personal, and get all of the science data that we need to actually calibrate our numerical impact codes, meaning that we can reproduce on our computer simulations exactly what happened during the DART impact. And that will allow us in the future to be able to design a planetary defense mission if we need to on another object. So we will have all of the models calibrated so that we can use it on another asteroid.
All right, Ian Corneli, fascinating stuff and a great mission to follow up on this DART mission. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Well, now we are getting to the big moment where we're going to try to acquire a signal from the DART spacecraft. And so let's take a look inside at the Mission Operations Center in the Johns Hopkins University's Applied Physics Laboratory. If we have that, that's where the real work is going to start being done in terms of acquiring that signal. And in just a few minutes, we're expecting that DART team to do just that, acquire the signal. But as Marie and Denton mentioned, it's not an exact science. We got to go through some stations to make sure we acquire that signal and get it in there. But you're pretty familiar, Kelly, with the people who are going to be in that room waiting for the signal to come in.
Well, the Planetary Defense Coordination Office and the Planetary Science Division have been working with the Applied Physics Lab and with the co-investigators at other institutions for a long time on this. And yes, it's a mission, it's a task. People have their jobs that they need to do, but I mean, these are individuals who are really passionate about what they're doing, and so they're really taking this to heart. And I'm sure they're still on pins and needles as they work their way through this part of the mission.
Speaking of pins and needles, there we see the room there, as you can see at the lower bottom of your screen, awaiting DART acquisition of signal, and that area right there is called the command pit at APL, and so those folks are patiently and intently listening for communication from DART to the ground. So while we await that, let's send it over to Marie and Denton, who are monitoring the launch team communications as we await acquisition of signal.
So right now, Daryl and Kelly, it's just a lot of waiting and listening. There's almost no chatter going on the loops. Everyone is just kind of waiting with bated breath. At this point, we're at T plus 1 hour, 4 minutes, and counting. And just in it all kind of comes down to these final minutes. When are we going to get that signal? Yeah. Years of work. Some of the people in this room, probably, if not all of them, have poured years of their life. This is their life's work into this mission. And so what's it like waiting for this confirmation?
Yeah, and so, having been on the launch vehicle side and sitting on console and working this, what you've been working years to kind of get to this point. And as you mentioned, the spacecraft team has been dedicate most of their careers or their life's work to the spacecraft. So, getting through the launch, you're like, great, we had a great launch, everything went successful, but you want to make sure you get that confirmation from the spacecraft. So it's a little excitement that we got through the launch, but it's a little nervousness as we wait. Okay, we want to make sure the spacecraft is doing okay. And so it's a mixture of excitement and nervousness at the same time.
Yeah, and you mentioned nervousness, and okay, we see some clapping. We haven't heard anything, so trying to see if we can find out if
So we waiting to get positive confirmation that we've actually have got signal from the DART spacecraft. So we're just waiting to get word.
If you're just joining us, this is a live view of the Mission Operations Center at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland. This is where the spacecraft team is waiting to receive confirmation of acquisition of signal from the DART spacecraft, currently on its way to the Didymos asteroid system, where we expect it will impact the moonlet Dimorphos in late September of next year. And Denton, while we wait to hear whether we have acquisition of signal, I was going to mention, you know, the teams rehearse this many, many times. There are pages and pages of procedures that have to be followed down to the letter, and you go through everything a final time during the mission dress rehearsal. This team did that less than a week ago from the control rooms here in Vandenberg, at Johns Hopkins, all around the country. And this is the one thing that you can't really predict. You don't really know when it's going to happen.
Right. So it all comes down to different the environments and different variables that play out on launch day. And whether you're going to get that signal early or whether you're going to get it later, you won't know until you get up there. So, you know, rehearsals and practice is great for dealing with anomalies and things along those lines, but at the end of the day, you're 100% sure of when it'll actually happen until launch day.
And so at this point, we are officially inside that window when we think we could get acquisition of signal. So it could happen at any moment.
Right. And you can look in the room and you can kind of see that nervous energy with people just waiting to get that confirmation of spacecraft, I would say first signal from the spacecraft, and make sure that the spacecraft is doing well.
And then after that signal is acquired, there's even more to be done then. I mean, that's a huge moment of celebration, sigh of relief, but there's still a lot of work to be done on the other side of that.
Absolutely. So that's when the DART team, the spacecraft team, that's when their work really begins. The launch vehicle team pretty much did all their work kind of leading up to spacecraft separation. Now it's time for the DART team to kind of really moving forward on the operational side of their mission. At this point, because they spent years developing the technology, building the spacecraft, and now, since we've had a successful launch, the operational side of their mission really begins. So we just got confirmation that we do have acquisition of signal, which is great news that the spacecraft is being able to talk to the team on the ground. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, huge news. It's a process from this point. The solar arrays on DART will still have to unfurl. That process does not begin until about T plus 1 hour and 42 minutes. So that's still quite a ways away. And that process, once the first one begins to unfurl, that happens very gradually, and then it's almost an hour before the second one is fully unfurled, and the span of those stretches fully out into space, each one reaching almost 30 feet in either direction, and they are okay. And just to finish that thought, they are 3 times more powerful than standard solar arrays. We've just heard that NASA launch manager Tim Dunn is standing by with Daryl and Kelly to speak to them about the success so far in the DART mission, now that we have confirmation of acquisition of signal. So Daryl and Kelly, Denton and I will sign off from here, and we will send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Maria and Denton. Great job out there, and congratulations is in order for Launch Services Program. Tim Dunn joining us here on set. Just popped in, fresh from the control room.
Yes.
How'd it go from your perspective?
Oh, it went great. Just terrific. We got it all settled in about 3.5 hours before T0. And we had a couple of minor issues with a little bit with the pad, a few items with the rocket. But it's amazing, Daryl, to watch the integration of the NASA team and the SpaceX team work through anomalies and issues to make sure that we are tracking to that precious 1 second instantaneous window that we had to hit. Obviously, we had perfect weather today, so that was not a player at all. No range instrumentation issues at all. So it was just a terrific countdown, and any countdown that ends in a successful launch followed by spacecraft separation is a great day.
Absolutely. And what a show out there outside as well. Clear skies. You don't get that all the time in Vandenberg.
That's correct.
You can see it straight up, and there were some great camera views as well.
Yes. We got a peek out of the window at the SpaceX facility and got to see probably about the first 30 seconds of flight. Looked gorgeous from North Vandenberg.
Nice.
Oh, fantastic. And 1 second launch window, and no rest for the weary. It's been quite an end of the year for you here with lots of launches. What has that been like?
It's been very busy. You guys know we started off just 2 months ago, Landsat here at Vandenberg. A month after that, middle of October, Lucy back on the East Coast. And here we are, right before Thanksgiving with a successful DART launch. And we turn right around. 16 days from now, we'll be launching Ixby on a Falcon 9 from Kennedy Space Center. And then just a few more months after that, a GOES launch early in 2022. So just a very busy time, but a very exciting time for Launch Services Program.
Well, it certainly has been the end of the year. Lots of launches, as you mentioned. Got to get going in the early part of next year as well.
Yes.
But you get to enjoy this one now a little bit, and congratulations to you and the team.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It means a lot to be able to launch on the 23rd of November and be able to get a lot of folks on airplanes tomorrow so they can be home with their families.
You betcha.
Thanksgiving.
I'm one of those, so thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, our coverage of the DART mission is coming to a close, but you can keep track of DART and get updates on Twitter. Just go to @AsteroidWatch on all of the platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So thank you for watching our NASA coverage of the DART launch from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. We want to give all our guests a special thanks for participating in the show. And a special shout out to my co-host, Kelly Fast. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. This was so much fun.
Congratulations, and we look to hear more from you in the fall of next year.
Ready to cheer on the team. They've been fabulous.
All right. Fantastic. So we leave you now with a replay of the DART launch from right here at the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Good night, everyone, and remember to keep looking up.
T-minus 15. 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of the Falcon 9 and DART on NASA's first planetary defense test to intentionally crash into an asteroid.
So we're getting a nice view of the onboard cameras from the Falcon 9. So you can see it looking towards the aft end of the first stage. And you can see those engines coming to life.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
And Falcon 9 will be reaching max Q in just seconds, the moment of peak mechanical stress on the rocket.